people are sleeping on the Iowa Hawkeyes, and this is why it's a huge mistake. Let's talk about it. I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're the Big Ten guys, bringing you daily content, rumors, news, predictions, everything Big Ten every day. Aaron, what do they got to do?
Don't miss out. All you got to do, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out as well. Just hit the like button. We know you want to. So we're going to jump right into it. The Iowa Hawkeyes have been dreaming, have been praying for a quarterback. The last time, Paul, they had a quarterback that threw for 10 or more touchdowns was who?
Is it Nate Stanley?
Not Nate Stanley. Nate Stanley, I would argue, was the best quarterback they've had in the past probably, oh, golly. Him and C.J. Beathard would be probably the best two in the past decade, I would say. We'll say. It sounds right. I'm a Michigan State fan. He's a Michigan fan off the top of our head. But 2021, Spencer Petras, 10 touchdowns. Besides that, your boy, Cade McNamara, who left the Wolverines, didn't even surpass, I believe, 6.
Yikes.
I think. I'd have to look at the stats again, but crazy. So my question off the top of the episode is this. Iowa Hawkeye fans, or whoever's just watching, Big Ten fans, do you think that the Iowa Hawkeyes offense is going to be, what's the word I want to say, Paul? Lethal, dangerous this year? At this moment, you might say, no, they're going to be trash. Write them off. But after this episode, I think your mind will be changed. Sound good? So right now, you might want to comment. Comment, that's fine. Or wait to the end of the episode. So what do you think? Will their offense be lethal? Will it be dangerous? Will it be better than years past? Paul?
I think it will be. I mean, nepotism is gone there. Brian Friends is out. They got a new coach, and I really like this Mark Gronowski transfer that they got from South Dakota State. And I know Iowa fans, you got to be sitting there like, we heard Cade McNamara was going to be great. But let me tell you, as a Michigan fan, he had that 1 year where he led them to a Big Ten championship. I loved him. I'll always think highly of it. We were at that game. Yeah, we were at the Big Ten championship that game.
Oh, that was against Iowa, wasn't it? Oh, gosh. I'm
sorry for bringing
Listen,
that up.
as a Michigan State fan, I was cheering for Iowa. There's an Iowa fan behind us crying. I forgot about that. You remember that?
It was a great day for me, though. But whatever happened in the I think he became very entitled in the offseason because he looked good.
Yeah.
But then there was all this hype about J.J. McCarthy and how talented he was. And I remember going to the opening Michigan game the next year against Hawaii, and they both had a chance. And Cade McNamara stunk.
He was bad.
And McCarthy tore it up. It was like because he was never going to be the most talented player, but he looked good on Michigan because a lot of people looked good on that Michigan team. They had the best O-line in the country, good receivers, good running backs. But I think he took it easy. I think he let off the gas. And he came into that next Michigan season and was garbage. And he obviously he dealt with injury at Iowa, but I don't think he ever was the same player again. But Mark Gronowski,
Dog.
Two-time national champ.
Two-time national champion for the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, dominating. Also won Walter Payton Award, which was for the best offensive player in the league, I believe, at least once. But what's crazy about this, again, we talk about past Iowa quarterbacks. Now, I would tell you one of my favorite quarterbacks at Iowa, sorry, we're going on a rabbit trail, but Drew Tate was one of my favorite growing up watching him. But that's beside the point. This is a guy who not only can pass in the pocket, but is also dual threat. We look right here at his stats. Last year for the Jackrabbits had 10 rushing touchdowns. I know 380 yards isn't incredibly sexy, but when you look at that almost 4 yards per carry, it's impressive.
Well, in college, you lose when you get sacked.
Correct,
you lose that yardage.
Correct.
So he probably had more like 500 or 600 yards rushing.
So you look at his stats as well, and the past 3 seasons, because he started all 4 years, and obviously he's a graduate transfer to Iowa. We should all know that. But his last 3 years at South Dakota State, throwing 23 or more touchdowns, and then the interceptions aren't anything crazy. They're not in the double digits. His completion percentage is pretty solid. Obviously, in 2023, it was better than this past year or even 2022. But not bad. Not bad at all. And in Iowa, and another quarterback that they brought in from Michigan, Jake
Rudock.
Again, another guy that I think just lost a lot.
Well, he went from Iowa to Michigan.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I meant. But he was all right. He was all right. Did okay at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at these numbers, and they should only give you optimism, especially at quarterback, at a position that Iowa has struggled to find someone, I would say, above average.
Yeah.
Average or above average.
They've struggled to find somebody slightly below average. But I think we can get above average here.
Listen, again, we're not dogging on Iowa. What we're trying to say is this is a godsend for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and it should be. Now, we would bring up the time South Dakota State and Gronowski played Iowa, but we don't want to bring you back through that horror of a game. It was more of a score in a hockey or soccer game, which is embarrassing to say. Don't say the score, Paul.
I'm just going to say pink locker rooms.
Pink locker rooms.
They get you.
They get you. They get you. So anyways, we look at the Iowa Hawkeyes, not only under center Gronowski, huge get for them, but also we have to remember they're returning 3 offensive linemen. If there's one thing Iowa is known for is offensive linemen, bringing back all Big Ten center Logan Jones, that'll be a key anchor to that offensive line. That's huge. And then wide receiver that they got from Northwestern last year, the leading receiver, I believe 411 yards was, and we can see this on here, was Gills. Come on, stop. There we go. We go down to receiving Jacob Gills. Now, again, numbers aren't sexy. 2 receiving touchdowns, 411, but you have to think with Gronowski coming in, a much more prolific. There we go. Prolific. I teach PE. I'm not an English teacher. Passer. That these are only going to go up. Jacob Gill, I think, was a good get from Northwestern. It was smart for Iowa to bring him in and kind of got off the ship as the whole Fitzgerald thing sank to the ground. And obviously Northwestern was pretty trash last year. But we look at this, and hopefully he can help. And then another up-and-coming wide receiver that's hopefully can do well is Reese Vanderzee, which, golly, you want to talk about a Dutch name. That is
It's
Dutch.
about as Dutch as
That's
it gets.
as Dutch
And if
as
you
it
ain't Dutch, you ain't
He
much.
ain't much. We're both Dutch, so we can say that. If you're not Dutch, you can't say that. But anyways, so expect these numbers to go up again. Three receiving touchdowns for him.
That's 3 out of 6.
That's right.
That's a high percentage.
Technically they had 10 total,
Okay,
but
but
6 were from McNamara.
He caught 30% of the team's touchdowns. That's impressive.
But then you look at the ground game, and that's one thing I love about Iowa. Iowa has always prided themselves in their rushing attack. You look at Kamari Moulton. Again, a lot of potential there, as well as Patterson. So with returning offensive line, and then a run game that has experience, especially Caleb Johnson leaving is a bummer, but hopefully Moulton, him or Patterson, I would assume Moulton kind of takes that torch and moves on. This offense should be extremely better than years past.
Yes.
If not surprising a lot of people.
And Iowa's been a team the last 10 years, as long as I can remember, honestly, where like if they even have a middle of the pack offense, they're competing for the Big Ten.
Yes.
Like they don't need to have Ohio State's offense.
No.
Because honestly, most years Ohio State does not have Iowa's defense. If they can keep up that defense and special teams that they've had for the last decade, even like a top 10 offense in the Big Ten is probably at least sufficient. A 9-win team.
Yes, for sure, sufficient. Well, and think about this. Every time I think of a team that's, and this is going to go NFL for you guys, but when I think about a team that the defense carried them, it was the year that the Broncos won the Super Bowl against the Panthers. It was the whole controversy. Cam Newton made a career choice and didn't go for the fumble. But that defense carried that team. Peyton Manning literally had a spaghetti arm out there. It was embarrassing to watch. He had his moments, but you could tell he was not the Peyton Manning of old. If the Iowa Hawkeyes can have a a competent offense, which I think they can, looking at all these different things, all these different variables that are falling into place for them, I think they can surprise a lot of people. A lot of people.
I agree.
And as we look at their schedule specifically, and Paul and I haven't talked about this part before, so he might be differing from what I have to say. But what kills me is a lot of times Iowa, I expect them to be good. Then they play Iowa State, and I know it's a rivalry game, but it kills me when they lose those games.
Yeah.
But I see 3 wins off the bat, even though that game is at Iowa State. Rutgers, I don't expect. Sure, you have Shiano back, but I don't expect the Rutgers. I don't expect Rutgers to be great. What do you think about Rutgers? Bob?
Yeah, they're probably a 6-6 team, and
Yeah.
that's not a tough place to play either.
No.
I like Iowa there.
I think Indiana takes a step back. They got a transfer quarterback from Cal, but they lose a lot of players. But I still expect them to be scrappy. They kind of, as a Michigan State fan, they remind me of a team, Michigan State of old, a chip on their shoulder, developing a lot of good players, or a lot of players that were 2-3-star players. So that one, though, I expect to be a win. Wisconsin, Paul, what do you got to say about Wisconsin?
I think Iowa's better than Wisconsin, but that's a tough place to play. So I could see that going either way.
But we did a video on Wisconsin. I kind of feel bad for Wisconsin faithful because it was rough.
They got a rough schedule. They're going to be going through it in October. They
Yeah.
have like Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, all back. Like
October.
That's going to be a beaten up team by the time they get to Iowa.
Yeah.
At Alabama, I think before.
They play Alabama. Oh, it's tough. It's a tough schedule. I don't know why I'm scrolling down. And then you go Penn State will be a tough game. Penn State will be tough.
And so is Oregon.
Correct.
The 2 biggest games will be at home.
Correct. So that's huge for them. You take one of them, Minnesota should be trash. USC, I feel like they've fallen off ever since they had a quarterback that painted their fingernails. And so now a Bears quarterback where he's from. Anyways, Michigan State, as a Michigan State fan, man, I want to be optimistic, but I think we lose to Iowa. And then Nebraska, that's sneaky. I actually think Nebraska is going to be pretty good this year.
We did a Nebraska video the other day. I encourage you to go watch it if you're a Big Ten fan or an Iowa fan even, because I think that we discussed Nebraska could be 8-3 going into that last game of the year.
Yes.
I could see Iowa this could be a game for are you playing in a late December, January bowl game? Like the winner of this one is going to be in a pretty solid bowl game, in my opinion.
Pretty solid, yeah. And the question too for Oregon is they have Dante Moore at quarterback. That was a big time transfer from UCLA. The question becomes, are they going to be as good as they were last year, winning the Big Ten or potential to win the Big Ten? A lot of people have Penn State winning the Big Ten and then going deep into the playoffs and not choking like they did last year. But if I were to look at the schedule, if their offense is what I think it can be, I think they can finish this year at 10-2 or 11-1. And I know that might sound crazy, but I would say at the minimum, I think Iowa wins 8 games.
Yeah, if you're I haven't seen their over-under. I'd assume it's 7.5-ish. I'm taking the over on that all day.
So based on all of that, back to my question. What do you think about the Iowa Hawkeyes offense? Are you feeling good about it? Glass half full? You still feeling negative? Wait and see. I know obviously people are going to say that, but how are you feeling about the offense right now? How are you feeling about the schedule? What do you think their record will be at the end of the season going into postseason? Comment below. Tell us what you think. Paul, you got anything else?
Just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit those alerts. You're going to have a lot of good content coming from us this summer.
Don't miss out. We'll talk later. Peace.
See ya.